All right, everyone. So I am starting to record now, and we will start this webinar. Thank you all for coming. I see some familiar names here on the list, and so you guys will most likely get an email afterwards with the recording once I transform that, and then also the recording will go up on our help article. Okay, so this one is on analyzing auditing goals and targets using the Learn Goal List. I am Greg Paquette. I work on the clinical product development here at CentralReach. I'm a BCBA, and I know a lot of you guys from initial rollouts, training, sales, and excited to kind of go over this tool with you today. So we're going to use a PowerPoint for just a few minutes, and then I'm going to jump in and show you the tools. All right. And this webinar is great for advanced users of Learn. Right. So some of you are probably familiar with the goal list and the goal dashboard. So I'll kind of explain what's changing there. And also this webinar is great for newer users that want to dive in a little bit deeper into some analysis into the clinical data that they're taking. All right. So let's just jump right in. All right. And I do always start out by just explaining what Learn is in case there's any perspectives out there or very new folks. Really, Learn is the clinical platform. So we call it our toolkit. It's comprised of learning trees and sessions most predominantly. So learning trees are the foundation of Learn, where you can create a data book, a binder electronically, and house all your goals, your objectives, and your graphs. We have our mobile data sheets. Our sessions is what they're called, our group data sheets as well. Today, we're going to go over some data analysis and goal auditing. So that is what previously was the goal dashboard and the goal list, and we're transforming everything into one place, and that will be the goal list now. All right. Things that you can learn about more on different webinars are the electronic learning system, the course creator and staff management tools, and then also reporting tools. So that's Learn in a 30-second update there. All right, but for today's focused, we are going to go over the goal dashboard's retirement. Okay, so a lot of you have used it over the course of the last couple of years. We haven't really advanced that feature, so we're fading it out. And we're moving the features that users did like in that goal dashboard, we're moving them to the goal list. All right, so the goal list will be in your account currently, and it will be updated either today or tomorrow. All right, so you're getting a sneak peek at the new system. We're going to just go over kind of what it means for the goal dashboard to be retiring, what's new on the goal list, and then some tips and tricks of how to use that goal list. All right. So just to start off, those of you that do subscribe and do use the goal dashboard, have no fear. We are taking some of the, or most of, if not all of the functionality of the goal dashboard, and we're putting it into the goal list, as I mentioned. We have some great features that are in the goal dashboard. I just want to kind of flip through a couple pictures of that. You should still see it in your account, but again, by tomorrow, it most likely will be missing. All right. So the first thing that's on the goal dashboard currently, it's under the Learn module. It's called Goal Dashboard. A few things that people liked were the ability to pull up all their clients, right? The system would list their clients and then the progress assessment by days in service. This was a helpful tool because you could filter by day, week, and month, and you could see approximately how your caseload is doing, right? What's been achieved, how many goals are progressing out of the total. In this picture on the screen, you also can see the percentage achieved, and you can switch that percentage drop down to a number, to a count. Okay. Now we're taking both of these items and putting in the goal list. All right, so we have no fear there. We're going to show you how to use that in the goals list. So we'll be able to see the amount of goals and the percentage achieved over time during date ranges. So that's the first thing we'll go over when we get to the new one. The next one is goal inactivity. A lot of users really liked to go and see their inactivity broken down by the top 10 skills and when they were last run. It was really great, except you really could only see the top 10, right? So what we're doing in the goal list now is being able to have a filter, and you can search by goal inactivity and see a bunch of your skills at once, all your skills in the last time they were ran. All right, so I'm going to show you that in a couple minutes. So don't worry, this little feature on the goal dashboard will be there as well. We also had goals by domain, and we could see the diversification of a program. All right. So the diversification of a program really just meant if you label your skills and your goals by domain or by assessment or by responsibility. I'm hovering over this little picture here, this drop down. You could search by domain, responsibility, record type, etc., and you could see the breakdown. So this graphic really shows that I, for one, did not label my goals appropriately because a lot of them say none, right? 60%. But then the others, I could see the percentage of my goals for a particular student broken down. So it's very helpful if you do use our labeling system. All right, so that will be transformed into the goal list as well. And lastly, the trends by domain. I circled one just as an example. Our goal list will now show, and it has shown for some time, the ability to see what are the trends of your skills, which skills are increasing, which are decreasing, and we do have color coding. All right, so this will just be in a different view in the goal list. So the old goal list, right? So the current one that's in your account and the one that will be updated, it had labels and filters on the left side. You could have recommended filters. We'll go over that. And you could have saved filters. We're also going to go over that. You, in the middle of your screen, would be able to search by client or by goal name. And then you could search by status in the first dropdown. And then thereafter, every column on the goal list had its own dropdown. This really led to have about 10 different dropdowns in the big main part of your screen, and users would get confused of what they're looking for. What are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to click? So what we did was we changed the look and feel of the goal list, and we added some additional features, but in a more organized way. So this is the picture of the old one. And then when it changes, we're moving most of our stuff to our filters on the side. All right, so again, if I go back, you notice that we have filters on the left, only the saved and recommended. And now if I go forward again, we have basic, goal dates, and score and duration filters along the left side. Once I stop the PowerPoint and go in and dive in, you'll be able to see how to use this. We also have added a new sorting functionality. So in addition to the filtering functionality, we've added the sorting functionality. Okay, we've in addition added the stats, so some graphics that will depict your rate of acquisition and the diversification of your programming. Okay, so that's a little bit of a difference of the updated goal list. All right, so the most common uses, right? And this is what we're going to go over in detail today. So the things that most people want to be able to do in their goal list when they're auditing their skills, they want to be able to filter by status, right? Show me my goals, show me what's met, show me what's progressing, show me what's on hold. So I'm going to go over how to use that. We're going to be able to filter by last track to determine goal and activity. We want to discover how many skills were put in progress in a time frame, right? That's very helpful when you're writing a report, right? What's put in progress, what's been mastered over that date range. We want to discover trends. We want to identify behaviors to analyze, right? What's not performing well? What's a low performing skill, right? What's something that has a decreasing trend? We want to do identify high and low scoring targets and then determine diversification of programming. So I have about 10 or 12 examples of common uses that I'm going to show you in a few minutes. All right, so I am going to X out of that, and I'm going to just make sure that you guys can see the goal list. All right, and I think we can. So we're going to get started on how to use this bad boy. All right. Now, a couple things as the presentation goes on. We're going to finish by about 12:45 Eastern. Okay, so about 35 minutes from now. And as you go, I am going to, as we go, I'm going to check the questions after I show a few things here. So first, I'm going to go over the general usage of this in case people didn't know how to use the old goal list, how they want to use it now. Then I'm going to go over those tips and tricks. So just type any questions as you go, as I go, and I'll stop throughout. All right. So a few basics, right? How do you get there, right? You click the Learn module, you go to Clinical, and you go to Goals List. Now, I will say that I am on a test site right now. We're finishing the last remaining finishing touches of it, and we are going to release it either tonight or tomorrow. And soon, when that releases, you will see something like this: goal list and no more goal dashboard, as I mentioned. Okay. For those users that are subscribing, again, have no fear. You're getting all the functionality of the goal dashboard in that goal list. Okay. So once you click here, it loads it up. The basics, all right? The basics of the goal list. It is a place to search for goals, search for targets. Some people call them skills, objectives. It's a place to look at all your clients or groups of clients or single clients and analyze the skills and audit how well they're doing. The first thing you have to remember is it defaults to all clients showing. Some things that we did behind the scene are make it speedy. You are able to load this very quickly, where in the past it had some load time. It had some spinny wheels. So you're going to find more speed and more power. All clients show when you get here. Okay, so the next one, the basics, is we are going to use the search bar, and you can search by groups of people. House A, for example, that is a label I have. House A, I can click, and what it will do is it will load all the clients in House A, right? Carrie, Katie, okay, some other folks as well, Johnny John. So you always can use your contact labels over here in the left side. You can use organizational labels, or you can use contact labels. So that's just an example. Search one name or search a label. All right. Now, in addition, we have a new client little widget. I can click this little button right here, and I'm going to be able to have a little widget down here that helps me filter very quickly by a particular client. So these are all my active clients. They are in this list right here, and I am able to search one at a time up here. But some folks like to have this little widget, such as in other screens, such as the billing screen. I can simply scroll and I can click, and it will filter by all Matt's goals. I can minimize, I can close, I can save this view as a filter. We're going to get into that a little later as well. I'm going to X out, and I'm going to go back to all my clients. Okay, so that's a little bit about searching. One person, groups of people, or use that client widget. You also can search inactive goals. So these are, by default, all your active stuff, right? You've made them active. If you need to, next to the client, you can click this little person, and that will show inactive goals. All right, so that's a little bit there. Next little basic that I want to go over is you can always export. When you find the goals that you want to look at, you can click this little cloud export right here. Export based on current filters, and that will be in the form of an Excel. All right. Next up, some more basics just to give us a frame of reference. We have our column configurator. I'm going to click configure my grid columns. If you notice, I have a scroll bar at the bottom, and I have a lot of columns. Things like goals, type, domain, phase, etc. What if I don't want all those? I simply click and I configure, and it's going to tell me what I have, what I'm looking at currently. I can take things off, and you see magically that those disappear. I can add things in, okay, add things in as I would like. I can always click it again to hide that. All right, now that is a little bit about the column selector. The page view, okay, I can come over here and I can click how many I would like to see as I'm looking, right? 100, 150, so on and so forth. It's really just going to be able to load more. All right, so depending on how many goals you have, you're going to be able to load a lot more right there. I have flat versus tree view. Okay, so I am going to show you something. I'm going to search for a client, bring up his long-term areas, and I'm going to click flat view, and I'm going to change it to tree view. All of you that are probably on here are very familiar with learning trees. Everything starts there. I'm going to click, and I'm going to see what goes under. Okay, so the long term with the short term and all the targets that are under there. Again, the long term is white, and then the short term and targets that are under there are in gray. Okay, so that is just a way to look at things more like the tree view that you might be used to. Okay, a couple more things. Once you find what you want to look at, we have drag and drop. You simply can click and you see me pulling it over and you drop it right here. I grab type, drop it right here. I'm going to be using those in a lot of my examples to find out exactly what I want, and I put it closer to the name of that objective so I can look at the progress right next to the goal. Okay, so that's a helpful little thing, is the drag and drop. Other features, when you do find a goal that you like to look at, you can scroll over and you're going to be able to click. Let me just get it back real quick. Let me get a little graph right there. Okay, get rid of that. You can always click a graph, and that will lead you directly back to the graph. So in some of my examples that I go over of how to use it, you're going to be able to go right to that graph in the tree. All right. Okay, cool. Now to the filters. We have in the new goal list, and this is the main change, we have all our filters over here, our sorting here, and our stats over here. Our stats, I'm going to click, and you can load stats and totals. It's going to load whatever you have on your screen currently. All right, we're going to go over this a little bit in a minute, but I just wanted to show you that where those stats are and where the filters are. You have basic filters, where now you can search long-term, short-term, and target. If I click target, you'll see all my targets load on the screen here. Now it does have a little load time, right? Much quicker than before, but any load time is based on the amount of skills that it's searching for. Okay, so you notice that he has a lot of targets, so it took a little while to load those results. You can use your goal types, your status, okay, different items from your tree, okay, method, phase, trend, intervention, responsibility, so on and so forth. Some basics. You have goal dates. These are very helpful, and I'm going to explain why. You have initiated, progressed, met, held, and discontinued, and you can search for anything in certain date ranges or custom date ranges. And of course, some big helpful tools here, score and durations, which we're going to go over in a second. Okay, so those are where your filters are in the new goal list. All right, I do have a question, and then I'm going to jump into some of where the things that you used to look at in the dashboard are housed here. Let me just answer this question real quick. All right, does the count column only count data points within indicated phase or all total data points? Great question. So if you see here, there is a column that is count. The count is the total amount of times data has hit the graph of that skill. So in this one, 26 times, this one 8 times. Doesn't matter if it's baseline or intervention or generalization. It's the count. That is a very helpful column to quickly look and see which ones are getting the most love, right? Which ones are the therapists entering the most data on, okay? All right, so I'm going to remove all my filters and get down to business. All right, so the first example that we're going to go over is I'm going to look at my goals met versus in progress in a time frame. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I always like to search for a particular client. Okay, so what we're going to be doing the next probably 20 minutes or so is just examples of helpful things that you can do with this list. So the first one is really just looking at how many goals are in progress and how many goals are met for a particular client in a date range. So I simply put in my client. Let's see. Here it is, Matt Storm. I'm going to load up all Matt's stuff. For my particular example, I'm going to go to basics, and I'm going to look at his goals, right? I call goals my short term. They're my objectives. They're my programs. They're my skills, right? They might have targets under them. So what you're seeing on your screen here is that Matt here has a bunch of progressing goals. Here they all are, and here's their progress, okay? So out of this, right, I could count, right, about 10 or 12 progress, 1 met, or I can use the stats button. So I want to simply say right now, what percentage of my goals are in progress and what percentage are met. You see here, 92 and 8%. I can switch this to a quantity, and you see that 11 are in progress and 1 is met for a total of 12. All right. I can also see in a date range. So if I open up that and I come over here, I can see which ones of these progressing skills were put in progress in a certain date range. Okay. So I want you guys to explore this later on, just for time's sake, but you can come in here and say, hey, I want to know, right, which goals, short-term objectives were put in progress between whatever and whatever. Okay. Once you search that, that'll filter down. And then, of course, you can go back to stats and see the updated results. All right. So that's a very helpful tool when deciding really, okay, over this progress report period, how well are they doing, right? How many I put in progress, how many are met. All right. That is something that you used to get on the top page of your goal dashboard. If I come down here, the second thing you used to see on your goal dashboard was diversification of programming. Okay, you see that I'm not doing too well in my labels, right? I have 8% are language, 75% are none. All right, where this comes from is on your goals in your learning tree. You go to the little goal tab, that little bullseye, and you're going to pick a domain. It's very helpful because then you could actually see how diversified your program is. Okay, if I go back up to my filters, I'm going to go to my basics. I'm going to go to my long term. I see them a little bit at the long term level. Go back to stats, and now I can see my domains here. So the diversification in quantity or percent right there. So those are two things that used to occur on the goal dashboard. The progressing versus met, right? The status, how many of each in a specific date range, and the diversification of programming of your goals. All right. So I'm going to X out, and I'm going to show you another example. Okay, I'm back to the main screen. The third thing that was on your dashboard was the trend of the data, right? The goals and the trends. So I'm going to look for a client again. Here's my buddy Matt. Okay, I'm going down in this example to a filter, and I'm going to targets. Here's his targets. All right, I am going to come to the trend. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to filter by red skills. All right, there's my trend. These are the red ones. I'm going to shut that window and make sure to drag over that trend. All right, so as you see here, one of the items that was on the dashboard was the trends of goals, right? How many were progressing, how many were red, how many were green, right? How many were stable. So what you see here is that Matt here has these targets, these goals right here, the trends of the data. All right, and of course, if I would like to, I could come to the stats, okay, and I could refresh and show the stats, how many were in that list. Okay, so you see that those are the red ones, and I can easily change that around. Come to filters again. Now I'm going to look at green, and it's going to show me the green trends, right? Which ones are increasing. All right, so that is a little bit about how to find the trends of your data. All right. Now, the fourth thing that was on the goal dashboard, and then I'll take a peek at some questions, is inactivity, right? Targets and inactivity. So again, I'm going to remove all filters, remove them all. Okay. I have all my kids' stuff again. I have the filters over here on the left. Let's look at inactivity of skills for Matt. Okay, so again, I'm going to use Matt a lot because he has some fake data on this test site. Okay, you could use anyone. You could, again, use groups of kids. I'm going to see Matt. I'm going to go to his targets. I am going to add some columns, make sure that I have my last tracked. Okay, last tracked and last point by. Okay, I want to see when it was last tracked and who it was by. That'll help me determine what I need to run. Okay, I am going to sort, right? So now this is the first time we're using the new sorting functionality. I'm going to sort by last tracked. Okay, so it's still going to have the same goals. I'm going to come over here, last point by. I'm going to come over here, put that right here. And I'm also going to bring my count. This is going to be helpful for me as well. All right, so I'm going to come over, shut this little window over here. So now I have, I'm going to move this over too because I don't need that one. All right, Matt, his goals, the last tracked, the last point by, and how often it's been run. So this is going to show you the inactivity, right? Nothing has been tracked, right, on this test site since 10.5, right? So let's pretend, right, this is real and this was, today I'm looking and that was yesterday, right? So this was run yesterday, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, until this, right? So that's 2 days ago, 3 days ago, so on and so forth. So what you're going to want to do is just scroll down a little bit and you're going to focus, right? So again, if this was real and this wasn't a delayed test site, you'd see yesterday's data, the day before, and you'd really be able to track that inactivity. And again, the goal dashboard only used to list the top 10, right? This is the whole shebang, right? So you're going to see some old goals here, right? Some goals that haven't been run for a little while and goals that are being run the most. What you're probably going to find is the ones that were recently run. Sometimes in the field, right? Everyone's trying very hard, but sometimes the easier skills get run, right? The ones with easy materials, the ones that don't occasion problem behavior, right? So you're going to use this count column as well to see what people are usually running the most. So if you find something that hasn't been run in a week, and it looks like this, right? 0 or 1 or 8 or 3, right? And it's an active target, but some of the other ones are run 86, 66, 81, 79, right? You might want to take those off the data sheet, right? For a couple days, throw these to the top of the data sheet, aka the session. All right, so that's a little bit of how to use the inactivity filters in the goal list. All right, so now I am going to check out some questions for a sec. All right, so does this include all the archived goals also? So it actually doesn't, right? So this does not include the archived right here. So you notice the status, the met, the progressing, the on hold. This does not include the archived on this one. All right, let's see. Can you assess trends for a date range? Ooh, great question. So yeah, in the previous example, so if I go back, and if I just wanted to, I'll go down here again, right? I'll show this one, basic filters, go to targets, right? Then trend. You can do certain ones, right? So not a date range per se. That's a great question, Tori. So that would just make the system a little bit slower, right? So a custom date range on the trend was a little hard to figure out, a little more load time. So what we did was we pre-programmed it 3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, all, right? And then the green and red sorting capability for the trend. Let's see. Okay, one problem I have is not being able to see a quick overall chart of the programs and when they were run. When we used to use the binder, the top page was a simple checklist. This made it really easy for me with a single page. All right, let's see. Okay. All right. So Emily wrote that, yeah. So in a binder, in a paper binder, it's very easy to see, in a prescription sheet, or, a page at the front of the binder to see what programs were not run. So a single place. So yeah, this is a little different than obviously a paper binder with the paper prescription sheet of what was run and what wasn't. But hopefully, using this will at least see when things were run and the counts of the data. So with those two pieces of information, hopefully that'll be helpful. And if there's anything else that will be helpful, let us know if it's easy, if it's not easy once you start using this new goal list, and let us know how we did there. Okay. All right, so let's see. And then Tori says, for example, we're writing a progress report and need 6 months of data to summarize. Yep. So right now, again, we just have those trends right there. Now, one thing that is also probably helpful for you guys, and I'll give an example of this, is the average intervention. So if something is an intervention for the course of treatment for a while, going through the prompts, going through the phases, you can choose, right, a custom date range. So that does give you ability to take intervention scores, right? Look at the last 3 scores, last 3 days, last month, or a custom date range. I'll give an example of that. All right, cool. Let me bounce in. So a couple common uses, okay? Some of them are easy and some are more complex. So I have right here, okay? So now for the next little while, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to give you about 10 examples because I find that people think it's cool, but they don't really know examples of what to do with the goal list. So we just went over 4 or 5, and here is a few more, okay? So some common uses. So the best common use that I find is going to a kid, okay? And I say kid interchangeably, consumer, individual, adult learner, student, right? So I just say kiddo, but we recognize that there's a lot of service delivery models. All right. So I have my client over here, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter down by targets. And the reason I often filter by targets is really just because that's where the data is really taken. A lot of you guys have been trained to do a 3-tier model. Long term is domain, short term is program, target is a stimuli or a target, right? So I have a lot of data on this page. That's why I look here. So I want to know my status, right? Very simple. I want to know my status. Format, I want to know how many skills are met, okay? So this is a very simple way to see my stats, right? Certain things that are met, and then this is one thing that is actually going to be, it's not pulling, it's not updating correctly because it's on the test site. So this stats right here should be whatever's on your page, right? So when I switch over there, it should show that I have X amount of met skills. Okay, so one thing is that this will update with your searches, okay, but not on the test site. But all right, so there's my skills. Now, I can then do a date range, right? So what I would do next is I would do a filter and I'd go to my dates. Okay, I'd shut this basics, I'd go to my goal dates, and I would be able to see, okay, what is mastered this week, last week, or a custom date range. Okay, so I can come in and I can say, give me something that is, equal or greater than, and I come over here and I go back in time and I'm able to update and see different skills that were updated since that date. Okay. And then, of course, I have my met dates over here and I could do a sorting by goal met. All right. So, again, the first example, pull up your kid, pull up the targets, the status, and then a date range. So that's the first example. Really, really helpful of a monthly date range, right? So, hey, I want to tell the parents what has been mastered in the month. There you go. Okay, use this goal date paired with the basic status filter. Next example. This one, I'm going to come up to Matt again, Matt Storm. I am going to go down to my short terms. I'm going to look at the programs and I want to know the cumulative progress of my short-term objectives. And there we go, right? I want to know how many goals in how many skills in a goal area have been met, right? 2 out of 10, 4 out of 11, 0 out of 32. Okay. And if you ever want to see the graph for that, pull it open and you'd be able to load that graph. Okay. So this one, no data to display, right? Because that was 0. So the cumulative graphs in our system, we have them right here. They're going to be 0 or blank rather if you have a 0% mastery. Okay. So that is example of to see cumulative progress. Okay. So a real life example, right? A family comes in, I'm going to get rid of short term, I'm going to put in long term. A family comes in and says, I don't really care about anything else about behaviors, right? So you pull up this view. Okay. There it is. Pull this over, progress, behavior reduction, 2 out of 11. Okay. 2 out of 11 have been mastered. Now you can dive deeper by clicking the skill. Okay. It'll go to the branch or clicking the graph, which is down here. Okay. And going right to that graph and showing them exactly what 2 behaviors have been met. Okay. All right. Cool. So let's look at all my behaviors. Okay, I'm going to show you how to look at behaviors just as a whole and then save that filter to come back to over and over again. All right, so I'm going to get out of here. Now I'm going to look at all my kids, all my clients, Carrie, Bobby, Barry, right, Matt, everyone. I'm going to go to their targets right here. You're going to use these basic filters a lot. Most searches involve client, then type, then some of the searches. All right. So I found my targets. I'm going to go to my, where is it? My domain. I'm going to go to my domain. I'm going to go to behavior reduction. I have a bunch of behavior reduction. I want a quick little glance into what behaviors are high, right? High is a subjective term, right? With one kid, 5 a day might be high, right? One kid, 17, 30 might be high, right? But in my subjective opinion, for my caseload, a quick way is to come down to score. I'm going to go to score, and I'm going to go show me the ones that are greater than 5. I have Katie here. She's quite aggressive, hitting, kicking, punching. All right. I have her scores. I'm going to drag those bad boys over. Okay. And I'm going to drag this over. And I'm going to look at this stuff. Okay. Katie, hitting, kicking, punching. Get that out of there. Get that out of there. Right. I have the score of those behaviors. And then the intervention average across time. Okay. So what this is good for is not only just seeing the current score, right? So I'm going to see the 3 behaviors here out of all my kids that are above 5, right? But then I could dive deeper and I could look in the goal details and I could say, okay, well, show me the average intervention across the last 3 scores, right? Let's see if it led up or is it going down, right? So you can see some of that stuff. But if all you're looking for is a score, here you go. And what I want to do is I want to save this view as a filter, okay? My targets, my behaviors, more than 5, save it, right? I guess I already have it, right? So I already had that saved, but just an example, you would basically be able to name it what you would like, okay? And then it would pop up in your saved filters, okay? Now, I guess I already have it, so if I load it, okay, looks like that one is, I must have done in this saved filter equal or above 5, right? And then in my last one, I did above 5. So seems to be working perfectly. Just depends on how you save your filter. All right. So that's a quick way to get back to the kids that are showing aberrant behavior. All right. Okay, next one, and then I'll take some questions. This one is good for a progress report. What has been put in progress by a date range? You just really need to see what you've been doing lately, right? What you've been doing over the course of treatment. So this one is basically you go to, I'm going to clear all filters. It's going to load up all my kids again. So I'm going to go to a certain individual. I'm going to go to, again, their target right here. And I'm going to search in progress, right? So I'm going to go right here, choose progressing, and it'll filter down to only the in progress ones. All right, like there. And then what I'm going to do is sort by date range. Okay, progressed, aka put in progress. Okay, this week, last week, or a custom filter. And again, you can do a between X and Y. All right, or you can do a greater than. You can also do initiated, right? So in our system, remember, initiated means you put it active, right? But progressed means you either pushed P or you took data. So sometimes initiated is really a week or two before progressing. Okay, so that's a cool search. All right, same thing with, hey, show me my MET skills, during a report period. Okay, so search your kid, target, MET, and then a date. All right, questions, and I'm going to show you just a couple more. All right, let me see here. See what we got. Let's see here. Easy way to see if which goals are being run, not run by a specific staff. For example, does Patty frequently skip Johnny's labeling goals? Ooh, okay. Great question, Sarah. So one thing that we plan on adding to the goals list, so the easy answer is no. So you can see who last ran it, but not kind of each day or who runs it the most. Okay. Now a couple things. So Sarah's question is, easy way to see which goals are being run or not by specific staff. Now there's one way you can do it currently. You can go to that graph, but you'd have to go to each graph and you'd put per provider. Per provider under the graph is a toggle that's on the main page. It's a toggle that you can click per provider and see that Johnny's run the skill 10 times and Sally's run it 100. So that's one way. Not easy. I mean, it's easy when you're looking at the graph, but not easy to find that information without looking there. We are adding some staff metrics in a future update. So our first updates were to change all the filters, change the stats, get the goal dashboard up, and get it faster. And then we're going to be adding some other things. So things to look forward to in the future. No date to be determined, but some staff information here. We also are going to have IOA data in the system and also pull that IOA data here. Okay, to be determined when. All right, and then trials to mastery. So you pull up your goals and then click trials to mastery and see if they're mastered, how long it took there to get them. Okay, but yes, to answer your question, some easy ways to see who's been run by a specific staff. In addition, later this month, not on this page, but you're going to have learning opportunities by staff. Okay, so you're going to be able to see on each skill the learning opportunities by staff. You're going to be able to see each day in a session how much staff ran, and you're also going to be able to see learning opportunities by date in a graphic format. So of all the kids' skills, let's look at today, for example. Sally got to 9 and Johnny got to 50. So you're going to be able to see a lot more staff metrics in an upcoming release. And now, is there a way to print out the results of these filters? So yes. So what you're going to do is you're just going to find the page that you want, and then you're going to export it and print in a text file or a CSV. You can always do that. Great question. And will you be able to sort the count column to order from least to most? Great question, Emily. Will you be able to sort the count column? So what we did was first, we did add the sorting. These are the first ones that we've been able to do, and I can see in a future update most likely us adding some of the other ones, such as the count. We wanted to get the last tracked, but I can see us doing that in the future. All right. All right, so just a couple more. I know we're out of time, so I'm going to give you two other examples, and then we'll wrap up. All right, so I'm going to come down here. I'm going to search for my basic filters. I'm going to go to my targets. Now, what I like to do is I like to make sure I have this baseline column Okay, so this is a very simple way to come over here and look as a whole, right? And I can search for groups of kids or one kid, but I want to look at this baseline, okay? And I want to look at this intervention, okay? Baseline to intervention. What this is showing me is what the average baseline is, if there is some, right? So a lot of folks are finding that their staff members are not taking baseline, right? Insurances need it, reports need it now, and of course it's best practice to have an initial baseline measure. So this is just simply showing you who has taken baseline and who hasn't, okay? Or rather, which skills have it and which haven't, okay? Now, another one, we mentioned this a little earlier, low counts. Low counts right here, okay? So this really just shows you that you need to run this skill more, okay? So you're going to look at the last tracked date, you're going to look at the low count, and you're really going to be able to focus. This is staff auditing, okay? So the no baseline, that's staff auditing. The low counts, that's staff auditing, okay? You want to find out which ones need to be run, okay? Now, another one that's for more managerial staff is initiated date. See what was recently made or put into place. Okay, so what we have there is using the dates initiated, right? Last month, last week, custom filters. You're going to be able to say, hey, I'm going to pull up a kid or groups of kids that I know are that contact label of, Sally's caseload, right? Because managers can make their own caseloads, contact labels. Pull up a caseload of one of your people under you, right, that you manage, and then just see what they've been up to lately, see the inactivity or the activity. So a lot of cool little managerial filters as well. Okay, and I hinted at this briefly, but you're always going to want to find exactly what you want. And the last example is target. I'm going to go to Matt. I'm going to pull up Matt Storm here, and I'm going to save a filter. Okay, so these are all Matt's goals. They're going to load up. They're going to be his targets. I'm going to go to the score. I'm going to pick less than 40%, and I'm going to pick a method of percent correct. So what that's going to give me on this screen is any target for Matt that is a percent correct that has a score under 40, okay? So it's going to think about those results. It's going to bring them up, okay? And that might be one that I want to save, okay? I'm going to save this as a filter. New filter. It's going to be called Matt's Low Performing Skills, okay? And every time I come back, I can just come here. All right. And that's going to give me Matt's low scores. And then I'm going to probably want to just assess them, check out the last scores, or check out the trends, see if they're increasing or decreasing for, since lately, and then go to the graph and analyze a little more. Okay. So that is a little bit about some of those searches. Okay. So hopefully that was helpful. Let me just check questions real quick, and we're about done. Okay, so awesome. So I just had one more question, just emailed them. So awesome, guys. So that is a little bit about the process of using the goal list. All right. So in summary, okay, when you wake up, hopefully tomorrow, right? There's always slight delays. We're fixing some little minor items, but this week, right? Today, tomorrow, the next day, you will see goal dashboard disappear. You'll be able to use the inactivity and the goal filters here to get that information paired with the stats. Okay. Any questions related to anything, please don't hesitate to submit a ticket for assistance of how to use it. Questions about the presentation. Okay. Anyone can pass you along to myself as well. And if you're a user that doesn't subscribe to the goal auditing, just please let us know in a ticket and they'll get you over to us. Okay. And we are going to have this recording. I'm going to transform it into a MP4, and it will be on our recent webinars pages of our help section. So if you go to the help section, you're going to be able to, latest articles. It'll be there with the video in a couple days, okay? And then you also can do webinars, and it will also be there with the video as well. All right, guys. Well, that is it for today. I appreciate the questions and I appreciate the attention here. And hopefully, this can help you analyze your stuff when you don't have time to look at all those graphs. All right, guys. Well, have a wonderful, wonderful Monday and the rest of the week. Bye bye.